of course, the ANC wraps up its National Executive Committee meeting today with the focus on the problem of illegal mining. President Cyril Ramaphosa will close the meeting later on, and our reporter, eNCA's Moloko Moloto, joins us now for more on this. Malume, a very warm good morning to you. Let's go to the ANC's NEC meeting. I suppose starting with clarity, what has been on the agenda so far that's been discussed by the executive?
Well, good morning, Rahadi Tumelo Mtutwane. Yes, day 3 of the National Executive Committee meeting of the governing party, the African National Congress, underway in Boksburg. And of course, this is an ordinary meeting of the ANC, meeting of the NEC. They have been obviously talking about a whole lot of issues that affects not only the party itself, but governance. Obviously, as the governing party, they will have to discuss issues that relates to the state of government in the country. They are telling us that today, part of the briefing that they will be doing with the media will talk about the issue of illegal mining. The state of municipalities across the country, that has also been a focus, but also the state of the economy, the state of the SOEs, how they are performing. But let me not speak for them. Their spokesperson, the ANC national spokesperson, Mahlengi Bengu Mutsiri, joins me. Thank you so much for making time. Maybe let's just recap on the past 2 days of your engagement. If you can just give us an overview.
It has been an intense 2 days of engagement. This is our third day, and we have looked at a range of issues, internal organizational issues. I don't want to bore you too much with some of those details. We're still looking at them and ventilating them in the meeting. But more importantly, issues of service delivery, and that's where I think I would say that 70% of the discussion of the NEC has really been focused on issues of service delivery. We have had a number of live briefings where we've been accounting to the people of South Africa and through members of the media about strides and interventions that are being made to accelerate the workings of the National Energy Action Plan as a way of example, and establishing whether we are minimizing load shedding in South Africa. We've looked at the data that we're getting, and we've looked at the stats that are telling us that certainly the future outlook is good. The second one that we've looked at are issues related to water and sanitation, both from a water resource management perspective as well as water reticulation perspective, and the latter being the main burning platform at the moment, where we need to fix issues in terms of water in pockets of the country. Third one, we have looked at the 2022 census report, and what it is telling us is South Africans about strides or lack thereof that have been made in various areas of governance and service delivery. And of course, this ties in very nicely, Moloko, with the ANC's own internal manifesto review account. And we found that when we received the report from the Statistician General, it actually even discounted some of the things that we've said as the ANC. In some senses, we may have underreported about some of the strides we have made, because we were looking at 2019 and we're looking at also the effects of the COVID period. But I mean, that is out there for South Africans to go read out from that kind of science. We've looked at geopolitical matters. I'm sure you would have followed our very strong stance on the issue of Israeli-Palestine, and there's absolutely nothing new in our position. We've been consistent for I don't know how many years on that matter. Then one of the things we're looking at this morning that we're going to be speaking about shortly are measures to combat crime, and with a particular focus on the matter of illegal mining, the Zama-Zamas. And then I want to also just speak about service delivery interventions in the state of local government. Again, we did quite a lot of interrogation of the reports from our public employees on steps that are being made to fix our municipalities. Yeah.
And I want to latch on those two issues, the last two that you mentioned, crime as well as the state of service delivery in municipalities, because these are issues that affect South Africans directly. If we were to start with municipalities, there was an admission, at least by the Minister of Kokta Tembingadimeng yesterday, that there has been a regression, really, particularly even in the metros or in municipalities generally. The challenge, one would think, is that if you look at the metros, you only, as the ANC, are governing in only 3 of the 8 metros, and some of the municipalities are not governed by you. One would therefore wonder, as the ANC, when you diagnose these issues and you discuss, how much of an impact are you going to have, particularly in municipalities where you don't have control?
Well, when there is national legislation that speaks about the interventions that can be made by national government, and we've got to really harvest all of those instruments that exist at the national level. That is where we focused on as the ANC. What can we do within what the law permits us to do? Interventions that are necessary, that are permitted by laws and regulations. That is the one aspect. The second aspect, of course, is a political one. The state of coalitions and our approach to coalitions, and as well as approaching coalitions with a much more decisive approach. And I think we're going to unpack that, what it means, when we summarize the discussions of the 3-day meeting tomorrow at our comprehensive press briefing at Lutuli House. So that's the second one. The third aspect is that where we govern, let's set the right tone. So let's fix those issues where we govern. I'm happy that you do recall that we don't control a number of metropolitan municipalities, because some of the questions that the ANC continues to get, it is almost as if the ANC is still in charge of a number of those municipalities. But we do understand that, because people of South Africa expect the ANC to step in.
Let's talk about the issue of crime. The whole issue around the Zamazamas, the illegal miners who are armed to teeth. I mean, I recall a few months ago when police arrested the illegal miners somewhere in Northwest. They were armed with about 15 AK-47s. Those are automatic machines. And the question is, these guns, how do they get to enter our country? What are your deployees saying, the minister? And are you going to be having particularly somebody who's operational at the level of the National Commissioner of the Police to say this is exactly how they are going to be stemming out that criminality?
Well, in an hour, we're going to be accounting to the nation about what it is that we're doing to clamp down and really, really come down on Zamazamas. We're also going to report on the instructions that have been issued by the President in terms of several high-level task forces that and even give you evidence of instances where we are now starting to make the life of Zamazamas unbearable, because South Africans do not deserve a thing of this kind. But let's just look out for this presser that we're doing in an hour from now on the sidelines of the national.
Well, we'll do that. But Mahlengi, you would agree that this illegal mining is taking place because it is lucrative for some people. If people were not deriving any monetary value, it would not be existing. And one is wondering to say, how are these minerals leaving the country? If they are, who is buying these things? Can this happen? Continue this illegality? Can it continue to happen when there are people in high places who are not benefiting?
I'm not able to, without evidence, to say there are people in high places that are benefiting. This is now just to your last point. There is absolutely everything to be said about our borders, among other things. And so the whole issue of border management is an important touch point when we discuss issues of illegal mining. The coordination with governments, neighboring governments, is another matter of concern. So there is no way that SAPS, there is no way that law enforcement can successfully execute on this one without this integrated approach to addressing illegal mining. But whether they are tycoons in South Africa, whether they're in politics, whether they're in other spaces that are part of that, I would not be in a position to do so without any shred of evidence.
Yeah, let's conclude. I mean, you have been in government for a whole number of years, and I don't think these are the issues that you really would be talking about for the very first time. I would presume that you continue to talk about them. South Africans would be like, oh, okay, is this not just another talk shop? What's going to change going forward?
Well, these interventions are really about, and they constitute part of the ANC's renewal program. Remember, the ANC's renewal program isn't so much about renewing the ANC for its sake. It's about renewing the ANC in order to renew society, in order to tackle the stubborn challenges. And these are some of the stubborn challenges that we've just flagged, Moloko. And so we do want to assure South Africans that this has less to do with the upcoming general election. And of course, we are a political movement. We are a political party. We are wanting to also have a strong showing there, and we're going to be doing so. But we want to tackle issues that are paining South Africans, and where women, where children are being violated by the Zamazamas, for example, in parts such as the West Rand, in parts such as Ekurhuleni. So I think that it is a genuine strive to be reacting promptly.
Thank you so much for your time. Mahlengi Bengu Mutsiri is the national spokesperson for the African National Congress. Tumelo.
All right. Well, of course, we'll wait to hear from the ANC President, Cyril Ramaphosa Moloko. I understand that he's expected, of course, to close off that meeting later on, and we'll come back to you as soon as there are any other developments. That's my colleague, Moloko Moloto, after us. This is where, of course, the ANC is wrapping up its National Executive Committee meeting today, particularly, amongst other things, with a focus on illegal mining.